Pablo Escobar was a notorious Colombian drug lord who rose to power during the late 1970s and early 1980s, becoming one of the wealthiest and most powerful criminal figures in the world. He was the head of the Medellín Cartel, a drug trafficking organization that was responsible for the production and distribution of a large portion of the cocaine that entered the United States during that time. How did Pablo Escobar become the most notorious drug kingpin? This video will explore his rise to prominence that earned him billions of dollars per year, as well as his abundant lifestyle, which included his personal zoo. Early life and career. Growing up, his family was poor in a rough neighborhood in Medellín. From a young age, he showed what some would consider an entrepreneurial spirit. He started out selling stolen tombstones, then moved on to petty crime. In his early 20s, he began to work for a group of smugglers who transported contraband goods, including cigarettes and electronics, from Panama to Colombia. In the mid-1970s, Escobar started focus on the cocaine trade. At that time, cocaine was still a relatively small market, and most of the production and distribution was controlled by a few large organizations. Escobar recognized the potential for profit and decided to take a different approach. He began to produce his own cocaine using a network of labs in the Colombian jungle, and he set up his own distribution network, which included routes to the United States. This would all eventually piece itself together into a massive organization that he headed, the Medellín Cartel. One of the key factors that contributed to Escobar's success was his ability to innovate and adapt. He was constantly looking for new ways to improve the quality of his cocaine and to streamline his distribution network. He also had a talent for managing people and building alliances, and he was able to bring together a network of suppliers, producers, and distributors who were loyal to him. Another factor that contributed to Escobar's success was his willingness to use violence to eliminate his rivals. The Medellín Cartel was notorious for its brutality, and Escobar was not afraid to order the assassination of anyone who posed a threat to his organization. He also bribed government officials and law enforcement officers to look the other way, which helped to ensure that his operation could operate without interference. As the Medellín Cartel grew in power, it became more and more difficult to stop. The United States government launched a massive crackdown on drug trafficking in the 1980s, but Escobar was able to evade capture for years. He became a folk hero in Colombia, and many people saw him as a Robin Hood figure who was taking on the corrupt government and the wealthy elite. In 1991, Escobar surrendered to the Colombian authorities and was imprisoned in a luxury prison that he had built for himself. However, he continued to run his organization from behind bars. He was eventually killed in a police operation in 1993. Lifestyle. Being estimated to be worth about $30 billion at his peak, Pablo Escobar wielded a lot of power internationally, let alone within Colombia, which was a country not known for its wealth. As a result, his lifestyle was extravagant and opulent, with a level of luxury that was almost unmatched. Here are some of the details about Pablo Escobar's lifestyle. Properties. Escobar owned numerous properties throughout Colombia and other countries, including several luxurious mansions, apartments, and farms. His most famous property was the Hacienda Nápoles, a sprawling estate that included a private zoo, a bull ring, and a number of other amenities. We'll cover more about the zoo later. Vehicles. Escobar had a fleet of expensive cars and trucks, including vintage Rolls-Royces, Porsches, and Mercedes-Benz. He also owned an impressive collection of motorcycles, boats, and planes. Personal security. Escobar was known for his intense personal security, which included a team of bodyguards and a fleet of armored vehicles. He also had a network of safe houses and hideouts that he could use to escape from the authorities or his enemies. Clothing and jewelry. Escobar was known for his love of fine clothing and expensive jewelry. He often wore designer suits, silk shirts, and handmade shoes, and he was frequently seen wearing a Rolex watch or other luxury timepieces. Parties and events. Escobar was famous for his lavish parties and events, which often featured live music, exotic animals, and endless amounts of food and drink. He was known for his generosity and often invited large crowds of people to his parties, including local politicians and celebrities, often using these parties as networking events to gain favor with others who he believed could solidify his standing in the country and cocaine trade. Family life. Despite his reputation as a ruthless criminal, Escobar was a devoted family man. He was married to his wife, Maria Victoria Henao, for over 20 years, and they had 2 children together. Escobar treasured his children and would often take them on trips to Disneyland or other exotic locations. Overall, Pablo Escobar's lifestyle was one of incredible luxury and excess. He lived life to the fullest and spent his vast fortune on whatever he desired, whether it was a private zoo or a fleet of sports cars. Looking back, his zoo is something worth special attention due to its out-of-this-world nature. Zoo. One of his most famous and unusual properties was his private zoo, which he established on his sprawling estate, Hacienda Nápoles, in the late 1970s. The Hacienda Nápoles estate was located in the Colombian countryside, and it was one of Escobar's most prized possessions. In addition to his own personal residence, the estate included a number of other buildings and structures, including a bull ring, a private airport, and a collection of buildings and structures that were used to house his animals. The zoo that Escobar established on his estate was one of the largest private zoos in the world at the time. It included a wide range of animals, many of which were exotic and rare. Among the animals that were housed in the zoo were elephants, giraffes, zebras, camels, ostriches, and numerous species of primates. One of the most famous residents of the zoo was a hippopotamus named Pepe, who was reportedly smuggled into the country from Africa. Pepe became a beloved mascot of the zoo, and he was often seen swimming in the nearby river or lounging on the banks. Despite the fact that the zoo was a private property, it was open to the public, and Escobar often invited local school children and other groups to come visit the animals. The zoo became a popular tourist attraction, and it was featured in numerous documentaries and news reports throughout the 1980s and early 1990s. After Escobar's death in 1993, the Hacienda Nápoles estate and the zoo were seized by the Colombian government. Many of the animals were relocated to other zoos or sanctuaries, and the estate was left to fall into disrepair. In recent years, however, there have been efforts to restore the estate and turn it into a theme park, complete with a museum dedicated to the history of the drug trade in Colombia. Conclusion. In conclusion, Pablo Escobar was a complex figure who left a lasting impact on Colombia and the world. His rise to power as the leader of the Medellín Cartel was marked by extreme violence, corruption, and the production and distribution of large quantities of cocaine. Escobar was responsible for countless murders, kidnappings, and bombings during his reign, and his actions had a profound impact on the social and political landscape of Colombia. Despite his ruthless reputation, Escobar was also known for his extravagant lifestyle, which included a vast collection of exotic animals kept in his private zoo. His reputation has continued to live posthumously through the media attention he still receives in movies and television shows. The zoo, which housed everything from elephants and giraffes to hippos and lions, was a symbol of Escobar's wealth and power, and was open to the public as a show of his generosity. However, the legacy of Escobar's zoo is mixed. While it may have been a testament to his wealth, it was also a symbol of his disregard for the law. Some give him a sense of respect for living his life how he wished, while others viewed his lawlessness as a nuisance, to say the least.